the anima is like your female side, if I'm not mistaken. The animus is the divine masculine, basically. And you got to find those energies within you. And Carl Jung, for example, said that if you a way to get in touch with your masculine side, especially if you're a woman, and for all you ladies out there, grab a knife or grab a gun or a weapon of some sort and just hold it. Just hold it like you were a soldier, especially if it's a sword or if it's a knife or something like that. Just hold it like you do and just hold on to it. That will immediately put you back in touch with your DNA, ancestral bloodline, lineage of the divine masculine within you. You know what I'm saying? There you go, bro. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Because, there's some suspicion. There's a special forces, a very elite MI6 special force assassins. They move very stealth. You never hear about them in the press. I've only seen a few things referred to them. They have these knives that go back to like 500 years when they were like Templar. Yeah. And if they unsheath it, they can't put it back in without cutting themselves, because there's a suspicion that, and it's the tradition that once that thing is out, it has to see blood. That thing has to see blood, or it's not like something's gonna fuck up bad, So they cut themselves.
It's like cursed or something, or it has an entity within it.
Right. So more for genetic fields, which is another thing Tim Rifat, citing Rupert Sheldrake, talks about, which is the idea that like things have memory. You know what I mean? Like objects, physical objects.
That's why black magicians will try to get an object that you owned to put a curse on you.
Exactly, man. Right. That's a good point. That is a good point. And some people, you wouldn't even think twice about that. You know what I mean? Like, people are so trusting, sometimes.
Yeah, but, and they have so many possessions over here, in the United States. I mean, goddamn, you got a whole house full of shit. Somebody,
right?
Somebody could take something you wouldn't even know it, maybe. Or
yeah, it could be your chair. It could be your pillow.
It could be a book,
right? It could be
book that you hadn't read in 10 years.
Book, yeah. I was gonna say, man. Ever since, all right. You've heard about the Necronomicon, right? All right. And so I have a few copies of that. And I got it from...
I've got a copy of it. Yeah, I mean, I've more than heard of it. Yeah, there's one right here in the house.
It's still in print after and you wouldn't think like a book like that would still be in print, dude. You know what I'm saying?
It's like it's got to be in print. Even if they don't make money on it, they're still going to keep printing it just for the...
Exactly, because it's a spell.
Yeah, because like movies, movie industry doesn't make money. It loses money.
That's true.
I mean, so, but they can't afford to not let us have movies.
Well, that's true. But what Douglas Dietrich told me, and it makes sense, and it wasn't just Douglas Dietrich, but other people told me, think about it. And he said Aquino was responsible for this. Aquino did write some Lovecraft stuff, so that I can verify. Like, he was friends with. What's one of the youngest of Lovecraft had a circle of writers that he would correspond to. You know what I mean? Good friends of his, and one of them wrote Star Trek, and
Gene Roddenberry.
Huh?
Gene Roddenberry.
Not Gene Roddenberry. No. Robert Bloch was his name. This guy's name, Robert Bloch. He also did. He did the famous one with Kirk wrestling with that monster and all that shit. So anyway, he knew that guy, and this guy knew Lovecraft and stuff, and he said so Aquino wrote a thing called the Diabolicon, which I've read, and Douglas Dietrich told me about, and it was basically what he did was write, and he invented a Lovecraftian language using the military lexicon stuff, right? That you can just take you can say, oh, we need to make a jargon. That's why the military is filled with its own language, And so he made this Lovecraftian language, and he put it together, and it was called the Diabolicon. And he said he was channeled, and it contains everything from basically the beginning of the Simon Necronomicon, and that was put in the revised edition of Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, I think, or something like that, and also with a Call of Cthulhu. So anyway, the Necronomicon's always been around them, and on the other side of the world, you know, that was Aquino in California and in the military and in Vietnam. He also did a thing called, you can look it up on YouTube, check it out sometime, Operation Wandering Soul. Have you ever seen that, Ayin? I couldn't believe it was right on YouTube, but this is like, it was basically a program, and Aquino said that he and his fellow soldiers jokingly called it Rubber Soul, Operation Rubber Soul, because that was really a big record at the time by the Beatles. Anyway, so they strap these speakers to a helicopter, and on it they tortured a Vietnamese guy to basically say he was a wandering ghost, because the Vietnamese are very suspicious and what's the word for it?
Superstitious
mm-hmm. about if you're not buried right after you die, then your soul sort of wanders and is lost and is in hell. And so basically it was in you can look it up, and it's just like this guy saying, "Oh, I am lost, my daughter, please help me, please give up this war and just surrender." And they would blast this out on the surrounding Viet Cong areas, and they would get surrenders and stuff like that, you know? Mm-hmm. And you can still listen to that. So anyway, there's the Lovecraft influence comes from Vietnam, of all places, and into the Satanic Bible. On the other side in New York, you have a guy named Peter Lavenda, who's hooked up now with Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy and all that. Very inside guy, you know, very interesting person. Pretended to be a wandering bishop. Also, big fan of Lovecraft. I have his book, The Dark Lord, and in it he compares Kenneth Grant, Aleister Crowley with Lovecraft, and it's amazing. Like, they all complement each other perfectly. And I'm saying to myself, isn't that weird? Because so does this book, the Necronomicon, the Simon Necronomicon. At the very beginning opening page, it says, there's a table, and it says Aleister Crowley, and it says Crowley, Lovecraft, and was it Grant, I think? Kenneth Grant? And it was like, okay, Nyarlathotep, also known as, in Crowley's language, the Crawling Chaos. You know what I mean? So they all had different, so it was basically, so it was very interesting that the book comes out right around that time, 1980, you know, and then it takes off and becomes popular. E.A. Koetting gets inspired by it, and it changes his entire life to the point Marilyn Manson made it. He attributes a bunch of stuff to it, and it was especially the Simon Necronomicon. And so it has a lot, and people get it tattooed, you know, the sigil that's on it. But so what those are is like it's invoking the anti-gods of the dark side of
the elder gods, the ancient ones,
right?
They can't be negotiated with.
Right? No. There's no. It's like it's like an ant trying to negotiate with you whether to walk, you know, where
supposedly you know supposedly they're in trouble with it because, I mean, you're just fucked if you go to them somehow.
Well, okay, so if you ever do get Aquino on your show, ask him about this. He did a ritual, and he talks about it, and I think he wrote about it a lot, at Wewelsburg Castle in Germany, or Bavaria. Well, it's Germany. And is that the name of the castle? Anyway, underneath this castle, this was Himmler's SS.
I've seen a show about it. Yeah, that's where they do their rituals and shit there.
Yeah, and like, so he did a ritual there. Now, the whole purpose of that ritual was to give a blood sacrifice. So that's why you have constant war. It's all blood sacrifice, and that's why they wear. That's why they wear the star.
It's because you want to dress the sacrifice up.
Right.
Yeah, when you put them on the altar, yeah, you know. So
it's exactly.
And
dude.
so that's what a uniform is. And supposedly all these countries are fighting against one another. Well, why do they all have the same damn uniform? They all have hijacked druidic symbols like the oak leaves.
The oak leaves.
And the stars.
Stars.
The chevrons. Yep. The chevrons.
Oh yeah. The chevrons.
Every pharaonic and druidic symbol, you know, they dress them up and they just send them out.
Yeah, and then it's a blood sacrifice, you know. I thought, you know, so like the idea was that Aquino was doing this to prevent the elder gods from coming back. And that's what he did. So that's why the military thanked him and put him as the first space commander and all these different things that he can't talk about. But he does say that there are UFOs. But all UFO to me means is unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
So that could be like debris from, you know, a
they could still be demons. They could still be demons. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think the demons aren't confined to the Earth, although like a lot are confined to land. Like it seems like the King Paimon, the guy we were just talking about in that movie Hereditary. Which is really great. It talks about King Paimon. Anyway, get back to that. I'm sorry, I go off on tangents. Mm-hmm. So under the mushroom, what I was experiencing is that when you close your eyes, when I close my eyes, I go deep. I talk to God or a demon or whatever it is. There's intelligences there that I can talk to and interact with. So I want everyone away, except for maybe my best friend who's just oversitting me or whatever, right? And I just sit there, eyes closed, complete darkness. And I might have a few bombers on me, you know what I mean? If I feel like smoke. Because it does lend itself to smoking a little bit. I don't know why. Anyway, maybe because it's a stimulant or whatever. But so I'm sitting there meditating and I'm talking, interacting, and it's showing me these things, dude. You know what I mean? It's like I'm thinking, and I'm not saying it out loud, but I'm thinking like, oh, how were the pyramids constructed? Like this, and it shows me and shit, and it's like, whoa, you know. So anyway, there was a part, and it feels like you're on. You ever see Willy Wonka, and he goes through the tunnel? You know, when he goes through the tunnel, and it's like it feels like you're on a ride, and you're looking around, and like things are passing you by, and like I see all my friends, and they're like the cover of the Sgt. Pepper album, and their faces start to melt into sand and shit, and then I look this way, and there's a dude, and I swear to God, and I knew nothing about Azathoth, Azazel. I knew nothing about, and that's a Lovecraftian thing too, but Lovecraft uses a real myth and a real name. That's why there's confusion. Anyway, I didn't know anything about Paimon. I didn't know anything about any of these things, but I saw in the air hovering like this. And I'm like, you know, like over here, and I'm coming towards it like this, like going past it. Like, see it like way off in the distance, hovering. A throne of serpents. And they're circles. Yeah. And I'm like, woo. I thought like it was like, I was like, what is that at first? You know what I mean? And then I saw movement. I thought they were like they were just like statues maybe, but then they were turning. All kinds of snakes, dude. And I don't like snakes that much, but anyway, they were all intertwining with each other like a rat king, and they were all around. And it was like a totem, but it was a throne. And then at the very top was, I don't know if you're into comics, but you ever see Galactus? He's like this, he's got like this.
He's the guy that Silver Surfer used to work for him.
Yes! Yeah, dude, yeah. So it looked like Galactus, but with gold. He had like a gold head thing, and he had like a gold, what do you call it? Head thing.
Headdress, yeah.
Yeah, crown, but it was huge. It was like Galactus size, you know? And he looked like Galactus, but he looked like, he had like dark Incan features, like he looked like, and he had these eyes, dude, that were on fire. And he's looking at me, and he's floating on this throne, and he's going like this, come here, you, come. Over here, come with me. And I'm like, no thanks. You know, so I'm like, nah, I'm all set, bro. Good to see you, though. I'll be over here talking to the fun dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was crazy. And so only like until I saw Hereditary, I was like, oh, King, what is it? Paimon?
Paimon. What I call it.
Paimon. I was like, oh man, like that says it like, okay, let me look into it. And he's described as sitting on a throne of serpents with like a headdress, a golden headdress.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
wow.
I was like, oh,
you really did see King Paimon, didn't you?
Yeah. And well,
wow,
it's right in the movie.
Fascinating.
I didn't. All those years later, you know what I'm saying? And I'm reading like descriptions of Azazel, I think it's called, like the demonic spirit Azazel, that E.A. Coetting says, like, you know, is a powerful spirit, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. I guess, I guess he's also on like throne of serpents and stuff like that.
Yeah, a
like,
lot of them have similarities. Like they're on a horse, or they're this. And some of them are like shaped like men, and some of them are like part man, part animal, stuff like that.
Right, shape-shifting. Like they want to shape-shift to like what you find appealing. So like oftentimes I've had astral people who are very powerful astral try to attack me astrally, and I was sitting in bed and I felt that something was wrong in the house. Something was wrong, dude. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't even know what time it was. But I was like, oh, something's wrong. Let me get up. And I couldn't. I could see around. I'm looking around, but I'm not getting anywhere.
Sleep paralysis.
Yep. I'm like, shit, this is going to be interesting. And I'm like, there's something at the end of my hallway. My bedroom's right over there, and the door's closed, but it doesn't have a lock on. It's not locked. And then you go straight down this hallway for a while, and then there's like the outside door, the front door. And I'm feeling something is down there. I can feel it. I can almost see it, And all of a sudden, my door doesn't slam, but opens, my bedroom door. And I see down the hall, which is all dark, and it's I swear to God, it sounds nuts, but I've looked this up, and many people have experienced this too, is that it looked like, you ever see Aqua Teen Hunger Force? No, that's like a cartoon, but where there's a meatball that looks, anyway, it's not a meatball, but it was like super sharp, and it had like this smoke coming from it. Smoke! And I realized why they call it smokeless fire. The jinn, they call it smokeless fire. This is why, because they appear very sharp and stuff. Like Simon Parks, when he draws his recollection of the Shadow Man or whatever, or the jinn guy, like he's very sharp. I get that because this blob, it was like hovering, like it was like, you know what it was? It was remember He-Man? Remember Orko, the wizard? His little buddy that floated around, he's red. He didn't have a face. So this thing, it was just like that, dude. Didn't have a face, didn't have hands or anything. It was just like a floating red orb, dude. A floating red orb. But you could see like a little head kind of. It was so like, it was right out of Twin Peaks, dude. And so my door's open. I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. I feel fear paralyze me or try to paralyze me. And I'm like, oh, wow, this thing is trying to it's feeding on my fear.
It threw a wall of fear at you. It threw a wall of fear at you.
Oh, yeah, something, dude. And but then before I could, and I'm trying to move, I can't. And before I knew it, it's over me. And I feel a little pressure on my, right here. It's just a tiny, like, see my neck?
Yeah.
Like it just touched, like ever so slightly, right at my vocal cord. So I can see why people say they scream and they can't, because if you press at a pressure point right here, like that, so that was like an astral attack. I feel like that was. I've never had that happen. So you got to protect yourself, and like looking into Tim Rifat, looking at his weapon systems and his thought and remote viewing and other people's, and you got to read up on the stuff, man.
Well, we have to, because we got this show, and we're exposing all this stuff. Well, we could be attacked by somebody.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a really good point. Thank God we got a bad motherfucker like you to run the show. You know what I mean? It takes a strong dude. Like, that's another thing that people realize. Like, Miles Johnson gets a lot of shit, man. You know what I mean? And it's like, you wonder why he does it at all. Like, you know, like, if all right, let's put it this way. If people had a real case against him, you know, like, I saw some outrageous, slanderous lies about him that some people said that they could prove. Well, let's see it proved, okay?
He can't prove anything. He's legit. You know? He's clean.
Dude, I mean, he's funny. Yeah. And he's a nice guy. Yeah, and I hate to see it happen to, like, a guy my dad's age that's actually, like, cool and into UFOs and actually is a pioneer of, like, Irish pirate independent radio. Like, all, you know, I'm not saying he's perfect, you know what I'm saying? But
I made a video defending him on all those allegations. Yeah, so
I know. You know, and he does mistakes. Like, I thought it was wrong in some ways that he had, like, on his other channel. That is, like, it's not his regular channel, but it's like another channel. He had, like, a 12-year-old girl on talking about her experiences, and it's like, it might be too young. I don't know, but whatever. And she was like the keynote speaker.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think he wasn't. He was a guest at that thing. He didn't arrange that.
No, I know. Like, the mother did, right? So, like,
but just having her on there, it was a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I don't agree with it. But dude, that's not
I didn't see it. Yeah.
But the things that other people, like, that's a small.
And she was 14, by the way. Because he was. She was young. I mean, I hadn't seen that, but he was telling me about it, like, right after it happened. I had an interview with him, like, the next day.
Well, he's good enough, like, you know, to, like, take seriously, like, criticism, you know, like, if it's legitimate and it's like okay, maybe she's a little too young. You're right. But if it's like slanderous lies that people can't prove, like, oh, I caught him doing this to himself while he was interviewing a female guest. And it's like,
oh, I hadn't even heard that.
Okay, well, if you're able to say that, then why didn't you say anything before, number one?
Yeah, why didn't you say anything while it was happening? Right, yeah.
Why didn't you say anything while it was happening? And, okay, you say you're going to, then let's see the lawsuit. You know what I mean? Like, if something really that bad happened,
show me the video.
People were assaulted.
You know? Yeah.
You don't go on YouTube and talk about it. You do. That's the last thing you do, actually. You never,
exactly.
You do that case over. You know what I mean?
So, like, they don't have any proof of that.
They don't have a leg to stand on, man. They're not suing anybody. They're done. They're just doing it because who knows why. Like, I really do think possession is the thing, you know, and you are right. Like, you did a video, right, where, like, you showed Maria Callie. I mean, I've never interacted with her. I feel sorry
my God. I know.
about her, but, like, she seems a little tapped in the head, and I'm sorry, you know.
Dude, she seems a lot. I mean, she's sitting there going,
a lot.
Number 1, number 2, number 3. You know? And then every other word she says is fuck. She's like, oh, you fucking bitch. It's a bitch in heat. And it's just a cum slut. She said, I was trying to figure out what she was saying. A cum slut. I was like, oh my God. What?
Jeez, woman.
I mean,
sad. It's sad, man.
Yeah, you know, I put that on my video.
I know, that was good.
It's 1 minute of her, and it's all the video's all horrendous looking. It's 1 minute of her, and I just took all the cussing and every little cuss word she said, and I put it all together.
Dude, she looks totally demonic, and you know what I mean.
I know it, man.
But no, man. Like, so it's like all the haters, right? I say this to the haters: you try it. Let's see the freak show of your life, and then we'll talk. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like, some people are anonymous and, like, you know, oh, you're just this and this and this, and then you look at them, the account, and it's like, hello, like IKEA chair, 5,000, IKEA chair 5,000, and it's like a picture of, like, fucking a galaxy. And you're like,
yeah,
okay, who are you though? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So no. I've already had some trolls, and for sure. I've already
So, I think I saw one
from different aspects, coming from different places. Some of them are just haters,
Yeah.
but one of them I had on the Leak Project video. She kept coming back and kept coming back. I mean, you don't do that unless you're paid to do that. You know what I mean?
Right. Wow.
She was,
really?
That was one of my very first, interviews that I had. Yeah.
Interesting.
She was saying that I was a homeless person that lived in Austin near the university. Yes, and she said that I was addicted to not only methamphetamine but heroin. And I was a homeless person living on the streets. Yeah, I mean, and then she also said I was a wino or drunk or something, and then I can't remember what else she said. She's just making up.
Nah,
a bunch
dude,
of shit.
it's wrong. You wouldn't be able to run a business.
Oh,
but,
I mean, I wouldn't be able to go to foreign
like,
countries and shit like that. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean,
you wouldn't be sitting where you are. You know what I'm saying?
Right? Yeah. Or in that hot tub.
You couldn't even afford a machete.
Exactly.
You know
I mean, yeah.
Or a vape pen or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people hate just because they're jealous or just because.
Well, a lot of people accuse Miles of being rich, being filthy rich. Oh, he's a millionaire.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Dude,
yeah.
He's not, okay? He's barely making it, man. And I'm going to edit that part out. But no, he has been challenged quite a bit,
Yep. No, I mean, I remember because I was like, oh, maybe it's true. Maybe Miles is super rich. Because, like, I saw a photo. He took a photo. And I think did a quick video, fast blast, on like near James Casbolt, like when he was visiting him in prison, I think. And in the background, it was this car, and it looked like a Mercedes. It looked like a SL 500 or something, right? And I was like, oh yeah, he's really struggling with his Mercedes car. And then he's like, I took a closer look, and it was a Kia. It's a Kia. It's not a freaking Mercedes, you know what I mean? I was like, oops, for Hyundai.
He takes really good videos.
Oh yeah, he
can make shit look like $1 million. Yep. He can make a Kia look like a Mercedes,
The Tim Rifat thing was just like that was well done.
It
with
was.
The board
it was.
And the setting and the cool setting in the cemetery and the shade.
The lighting and everything.
And then he has them from different angles. And, like, you know what I'm saying? There were, like, 3 or 4 different angles. And he cuts to it at the perfect time.
And
Tim Rifat's perfect for that.
Yeah, and Tim Rifat, I mean, he's got a hell of a presentation. I mean, this is groundbreaking. This is the most provocative stuff I've seen.
Hundreds of hours on this. Go to Psychic War. Everybody should go to psychicwarfare.com. When the page pops up, you'll see, like, the newer services that are there, like the Ariana Grande service or
I saw that
service.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and check it out, but yeah.
Well, but above that, but to the side, you'll see the Katy Perry service, Taylor Swift. You click on any of those, you'll see an MP3 bar. Here's what I found. I was amazed when I found this. On the right-hand side, there's a little button, and it's got like 5 lines. You'll see and you think it's just the one MP3. As soon as you click that, it drops down like this. And there's like 50 different lectures and services that go on. They're about an hour each. And
how much do they cost?
Play that.
How much do they cost?
For free. That's all for free, man.
Oh man, I'm all on it. I'm on it,
dude. I've just been memorizing and studying and hearing him. And he goes all over, man. He talks about the Grail stones and I wonder sometimes. I'm like. Yeah, but does he really know about like Crowley and the OTO, all these different history of magic? Does he know what he's talking about? He does. He really does. And he reveals it in these lesser known MP3s. And you really discover wow, that's an interesting way to think about things. He's one of and I was like, wow, why doesn't anybody know about him? You know what I mean? People do, but he's very low key. And then Miles put him on, man. And I was like, oh, man, things are going to change now.
I know.
And, he got his haters and stuff, but he wants to.
Yeah, I want to try to get him on my show. I keep thinking I'm going to have some guest that's going to take me to the next level.
That could happen very easily, my man. Mm-hmm. That could happen very easily. You could have, if you got even David Wilcock on, you would get an extra 1,000, at least thousands of subscribers. I wouldn't refute
him. I would just
just have him on. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. That's why collaborating is a good thing. You know what I mean? You get the word out there, and some people can pull in some heavy numbers. You know what I mean? Styx Hexenhammer. I know a big YouTuber. His name's, well, he's not that big, but he's pretty big. Over 1 million subscribers and stuff like that.
Wow.
And you know, that's like 1 million club, and you get like a plaque. A YouTube sends you like a plaque and stuff. Pretty cool. But like, it's his job. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I want it to be, my job.
Yeah, but it's tough, dude. And like now, even for like he still has to have another job. He has to have another job outside of to make ends meet, because they had the adpocalypse happen, and now YouTube's even controlling it more. I guess, like with the algorithms, like things that they'll allow to be monetized and things they won't allow to be monetized. But hey, man, it's a hell of a thing. Try it anyway. And by the way, you should think about setting up a Patreon for Basis Texas. You know?
Okay, I'll consider that, and I'll consider that.
A lot of people are successful with that. I know. I was looking at this girl. She gets maybe 100 views a day, if that. Maybe 25 views a day, and she does just like readings of the Schumann residence, and she'll say how she's doing. She's a younger girl, and she brings up the Schumann residence or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, it looks like it dipped down here," like a weather girl basically. But she does like other stuff. You go to her Patreon, and she has like maybe not even 1,000 subscribers, if that. Maybe, I don't know, very low. Anyway, she gets. On her Patreon, she's like, "Oh, there's one opening for a monthly one-on-one tarot card reading with me for 30 minutes. You got to pay $50, and you see that there's one opening, and it's 22 people. So 22 people already give her $50 a month, right? You do the math, dude. That's decent. That's decent money you're making. Not to mention all the levels before that, and then." You know what I mean? You can really do it.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that Patreon. I've already started looking into it, but I'm glad that you gave me that tip.
That would be cool, man, because you could provide like extra content. Maybe you could get like, we could have our own groups. We could have private like hangouts and stuff like that. That's not on air, like off-air conversations and stuff like that. Maybe even like get-togethers, local meetups, shit like that. You know what I mean?
That's a good idea, brother. I'm going to, man. I'm on it. Because I got to monetize my YouTube channel one way or another.
You should. Yeah. You should, brother. You're a good businessman. I can tell. You're smart.
Well,
and you wouldn't be able to keep it together like that if you had you were way off, with like crazy drugs or whatever. You know,
homeless. Come on.
Yeah. We all have our problems and issues and whatever, but like. You're smart, dude, to keep it together. And
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Hey, and we'll talk to you next time, okay?
All right, man. I'll talk to you later, Ayin. You're the man.
Later, brother.
And just remember, it's all about that dragon energy.
Yeah, dragon energy.
Tim Rifat.
Yeah.
Total Intent Male. Brandon Young. Forever Young.
There you go, Brandon Young. Right. Thank you, sir. All right.
Thanks. Later, man.